easy go.
So I've always kind of wanted to make a game in Unity, so I figured, actually finish a game, and I don't think it's something I've ever really done, which is really much harder than it sounds to finish a complete game. Aside from simple tutorials and things like that, making a Unity game could be difficult. Sometimes trying to get your ideas into actual code is something that's extremely hard to do. So I figured that keeping up with it is probably the easiest way to do it. A lot of things just kind of come. Eventually, yeah, you do have to look some stuff up, and I mean, it's you learn. But I figured if I stay consistent, eventually I'll be able to figure things out and learn something new. So I hope by making these devlogs, I can keep this idea alive in my head enough for me to pump out something that's, good. So the whole idea of this game that I'm making is supposed to be a first-person shooter that is going to take place in a post-apocalyptic but still thriving environment. In other words, there's still going to be remnants of like human structures and things like that, but it will all be run down. But there will still be nature in the environment, but still hopefully look good. That's kind of the idea behind the game. I don't think that I plan on changing too much, but then again, I never really know. The inspiration for this game, I want to say, really comes from games like Portal, where it's still run by robots, but the environment outside is beautiful. Granted, I know it takes place in the Half-Life universe, but that kind of feel to it, where it's kind of abandoned but serene at the same time. So, yeah, no, I feel like this would be a good time where I could learn some stuff. A lot of this, my ideas that function kind of coincide with YouTuber Dead Sound, who makes a lot of animations based off of post-apocalyptic ideas and kind of puts a nice spin on it. And I think that hopefully my game can get to that point. I plan on learning some few things here. I hope I can teach you guys a few things. Maybe not. I'm not sure how it's going to go. But I'll try to keep these videos shorter, as short as I can. They generally tend to make them extremely long, as you could probably tell from the rest of my videos. But I like to keep these underneath 10 minutes. So anyways, let's get into it. So Unity is essentially a game engine that allows you to make games based off of code, and they give you kind of the bare bones stuff, and you put things into it as you will. I use C# when I code, and I use Visual Studio, very basic stuff. As you can see in the video behind me talking, I'm just simply making a cube, trying to get the look and movement to function right. I started off with the base game, and I ended up just scrapping the whole idea, so that's why there's still a ground and a few assets that are still in there, just so I could kind of work my way out into it. I don't really have much planned for today, aside from getting the basic cube down, some looks, basic UI, that sort of thing. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the score yet, but I've got it there just in case, because I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. So here, as you can see, all the extra assets, I'm just cleaning up some stuff and making new folders. I figure, if you don't know this by now, organization is really key, because it just streamlines the process. Being able to have everything in one spot and knowing exactly where to reach it without having these huge amounts of just data to scroll through makes it a real pain. So this is just some basic scripts. I'm using some stuff that I already coded before. Essentially all it does is it takes the sine and cosine position of the axis of your camera and translates that into actual movement. This is, if you haven't made your own mouse camera, this is essentially how all mouse cameras work. A lot of times it might be easier to use Unity's built-in first-person cameras, but personally I like to make things from scratch. I tend to learn more that way, and it tends to be more suited towards what I'm trying to make. Sometimes you can incur little bugs that you're not quite sure how to work out because you didn't make the code, and it helps when you're making other things as well. But essentially I'm just tweaking, trying to see, what am I even adding? just trying to fix the bug. So camera was not rotating the way I wanted it to, and so I was trying to make it so that in the snap of a button you could look around as much as you wanted to. Um, and I think I finally got it to work there. Eventually, I end up just ditching the whole free camera idea and making it so that you always are looking wherever your mouse is pointing. So in games like Rust, predominantly, maybe War Thunder even, you could free look, which is at the press of a button, you don't have to be moving in the same direction that you're looking, which can be really helpful. But I think for the purposes of this game, I don't think that I want it to do that. My game window is extremely small, but I don't know. I like to see more of the scene than the game itself. I just want to make sure that first of all the game works, how the player sees it, and the UI is crunched. Keep in mind, but it's not going to look like that forever. Not sure why, but for some reason at this point I started getting a bunch of council messages, and it was saying something about the instantiation of my y-axis wasn't properly set up. Turns out I missed I made a spelling error in my code, which is something it's extremely common. If you don't proofread your code, you tend to always have these issues. So I ended up going on like a 2-minute long hunt, just trying to find the right setting for it. And I don't know if I ever find it in this section, but I did eventually figure out it was just a spelling error. So. And here I end up editing a bunch of chunks of my code, just trying to figure out why it's not working. And getting pretty frustrated because I'm not sure what it even was that wasn't working. I ended up having to Google it. Some of the things when you're programming a game, you just have to Google, because the internet will always know more than you do. And at the end of the day, there's no shame in Googling things. As much as I hate to do it, I'd like to sit there and try to solve it myself. Some things, it's just not worth the time. It's as simple as a typo, and which in this case it was. So after struggling for however many minutes trying to get that to work, I think I just kind of gave up and started working more on the UI, making a very basic slider health bar, which I'm pretty sure I did this wrong, but I ended up changing that in the next video. So. I figured I'd go with orange for this game. Not sure why I chose orange, but that's the color I picked. Yeah, this is just about the end of the devlog. Just simple tweaking for the health bar. Not sure what else I was planning on doing for this one, but I think I'll end it here. Hope you guys enjoy these. I'll be coming up with more for next couple of weeks, hopefully. See how well I stick up with this.